is no simple thing casting an actor in a role. Getting it wrong can be the difference between a financial and critical success or cinema drivel. The history of cinema is littered with left field casting choices that were proven to be a stroke of genius. But when a casting director gets it wrong, you end up with Kevin Costner rocking a mullet in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. To put it simply, bold casting choices can often make or break a movie. With that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with 9 insane upcoming movie castings you won't believe. Number 9. Nicolas Cage as Dracula in Renfield. Nicolas Cage has appeared in all manner of films over the years, from the absurdly entertaining Con Air to the cringe-inducing Wicker Man and the downright disturbing Mandy. He's done it all, and no matter the caliber of movie, Cage's performances have always contained a certain entertainment factor. Described as one of the most fearless actors of his generation by Quentin Tarantino, Cage certainly doesn't hold back when he's taking on a role. And soon he will join the likes of Gary Oldman, Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi in portraying the fanged villain Dracula in upcoming horror comedy Renfield. As ridiculous as it might seem to picture Cage as a vampire, it shouldn't be surprising that he's taking on yet another role that he barely seems suited for. Now, the film will follow the exploits of Renfield, a servant and devotee of Dracula who wants to leave the service of the vampire after he falls in love. Now, already this seems like the most absurd twist on a Dracula story, but with Cage involved, it's at least bound to generate a few good memes. Number 8. Henry Cavill as Connor MacLeod in Highlander. Finally, one of the most ridiculous yet entertaining films of the 80s is getting a remake, and none other than Henry Cavill has been confirmed to star in the leading role. Now, the 80s were a special time for cinema, but for every masterpiece there was a plethora of utterly bonkers action-adventure movies. You could never describe Highlander as highbrow cinema, but its cult status is indication of its enjoyment factor. The film follows the exploits of Connor MacLeod, a Highlander and an immortal who must battle through time for the ultimate prize. The original film's plot was as absurd as the casting choices. The role of a Scotsman was given to a guy who couldn't hide his French accent, and the actual Scotsman played an Egyptian without altering his Edinburgh cadence for a second. It was brilliantly ludicrous. Now, Henry Cavill is no stranger to wielding a sword, but it will be interesting to see whether he can capture the same absurdity that the original cast were so loved for. Number 7. Christopher Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV in Dune Part 2. After the cinematic spectacle that is Denis Villeneuve's first installment of Dune, fans and critics have been eagerly awaiting to find out how he will top it. Now, there is no doubt that the visual components will be alluring in themselves, but Villeneuve is taking no chances, as evident by his casting of Christopher Walken in the role of Emperor Shaddam IV. Emperor Shaddam is an extremely powerful yet insecure ruler whose scheming with the first film's primary antagonist, the Harkonnens, led to the downfall of House Atreides. Walken will certainly cut an imposing figure as the ruler of the known universe, and there's no doubt he'll bring all the majesty required to play the role. But it's his distinctive voice that will help make his appearance memorable. Now, when you're going to cast Christopher Walken in a movie, he's basically going to play Christopher Walken. If there's any constant in any of his roles, it's his Queen's accent and distinctive staccato cadence. For a film that is set in another universe, it might be a bit weird to have a character sound like they're some New York tough guy, but then again, who doesn't want to hear Christopher Walken saying the word spice? Number 6. Vin Diesel in a mystery role in Avatar: The Way of Water. It has been well over 10 years since Avatar stunned audiences with its amazing visuals plastered over a thinly veiled reimagining of Pocahontas. And in that time, director James Cameron has teased us with small snippets of information, resulting in surges of renewed excitement, quickly extinguished by the many delayed release dates. But with the recently dropped trailer and a confirmed US release date of the 12th of December 2022, it's finally time to open up the box of excitement as we return to Pandora. Many of the old faces will be returning to the cast, as well as a number of new ones such as Kate Winslet and Jermaine Clement. But one of the most surprising inclusions is action star Vin Diesel. Now, Diesel isn't best known for his skills bills as a thespian, but he does make one hell of a tough guy. But with no confirmed character name or bio, it's anyone's guess who he'll be playing in the film. Maybe a bad-tempered Marine? Number 5. Chris Hemsworth as Dr. Dementus in Furiosa. The 2015 reboot of the Mad Max franchise reignited audiences' interests in post-apocalyptic hellscapes and gasoline-obsessed marauders. But it's taken a good while for the Hollywood powers that be to dive back into the universe. Now, although a Fury Road 2 is said to be in development, we may well see a prequel to the 2015 blockbuster before we see a follow-up. The prequel will chronicle the original story of Furiosa, the one-armed imperator who went rogue during Mad Max Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy is set to play the younger version of Furiosa opposite Hollywood's go-to hunk Chris Hemsworth. Now, the inclusion of Hemsworth in a big action-adventure blockbuster isn't necessarily that surprising, but what is surprising is his rumoured casting as the main antagonist, Dr. Dementus. Now, we don't really see the actor in roles such as these. He's usually reserved for the heroic tough guy with a heart of gold. Seeing the God of Thunder trade in his hammer for a rusty sawn-off shotgun has the potential to be interesting, and Hemsworth can certainly play a character with an impressive physical presence. But whether or not he can portray a ruthless wasteland savage is another matter. Number 4. Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte in Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte is one of the great figures from history, and what he achieved in his 51 years is in equal parts awe-inspiring and horrific. Often thought to have an inferiority complex, he was obsessed with matching the achievements of his rival Alexander the Great, and he was willing to sacrifice the lives of his men to achieve these goals. Famously once bragging, "You cannot stop me, I spend 30,000 men a month." Now, Ridley Scott's next big project is set to chronicle the key moments in this controversial figure's life. Now, with a character like Bonaparte, you need an actor able to capture the man's nuanced nature. Bonaparte, no doubt, had a certain charisma. I mean, how else does the son of a lawyer become Emperor of France? But he also, without a doubt, was a ruthless narcissist. And Scott has decided to team up with Joaquin Phoenix for their first collaboration since Gladiator. Phoenix is no stranger to playing an unhinged madman type, so there's no doubt he'll make one captivating Napoleon. Although one might think a French actor like Vincent Cassel would be a more suitable choice, Phoenix's acting chops will no doubt result in something spectacular. Number 3. Margot Robbie as Barbie in Barbie. Now, a live-action Barbie movie doesn't seem like a thing the world needs right now. After all, Barbie is one of those leftover toys from a time when being pink and pretty and blonde were the only thing that young girls were encouraged to aspire for. With the socially conscious Greta Gerwig set to direct, it's likely this plastic rom-com will attempt to impact some kind of lesson about the notions of beauty. Of course, the role of Barbie has been given over to the current image of Hollywood perfection, Margot Robbie. So it will be interesting to see how this film will attempt to subvert the typical ideas of beauty. But by the sounds of it, this Malibu flick is set to course correct some of the unrealistic images that Barbie previously was accused of portraying for young children. This character comes with a hell of a lot of pink baggage, but with Will Ferrell also confirmed to make an appearance, it will at least be an interesting watch, if not at all that insightful. Number 2. Eddie Murphy as George Clinton in a George Clinton biopic. Recently, Variety reported that a biopic covering the life of funk icon George Clinton was in development. Along with James Brown, Clinton is considered the godfather of funk. His surreal blending of psychedelic rock and funk music was instrumental during the 70s for taking music in ever wilder directions. Together with his musical collective Parliament Funkadelic, Clinton influenced the emerging trends of hip-hop and alternative rock during the 80s and 90s. Over his years, he has produced material with everyone from Tupac to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and his legacy really cannot be understated. As such a larger-than-life character, it's only fitting that Clinton is portrayed by someone who brings with them their own cultural significance. Lined up to portray one of the most important musical figures of the 70s and 80s is one of the most important comedians of the 80s, Eddie Murphy. Now, although it hasn't been confirmed what areas of Clinton's life will be covered in the film, it would be such a shame not to see Eddie Murphy wearing those signature rainbow dreadlocks. Number 1. Daniel Radcliffe in Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Daniel Radcliffe's route into the film industry was via such an iconic role that he's found it very difficult to shake off those wizard robes. But that's not to say he hasn't tried everything in his power to put the Harry Potter franchise behind him. He's portrayed a horned teen in the horror comedy Horns, a flatulent corpse in Swiss Army Man, and a tech nerd forced to partake in a real-life version of Fortnite in Guns Akimbo. And now the former saviour of the wizarding world is taking on yet another ridiculous yet probably quite entertaining role as the king of absurdist parody, Weird Al Yankovic. Way back in 2010, fans of Weird Al were teased with a Funny or Die fake trailer which feigned to chronicle the white and nerdy singer's life. The recent trailer looks to be equally as ridiculous, as evident by Radcliffe's curly wig and questionable moustache. And that concludes our list. If you can think of anything that we missed, then do let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.